What is up, everybody, and welcome to episode 22 of Triple Threat Talk. I'm your host, Connor Ryan. We have a very fun, very interesting episode for you all today. Before we begin, we'll let you know that there will only be one episode this week. I will be going to Nebraska for my cousin Nick's wedding. Just wanted to give everyone the heads up. As well, sorry for the lack of second episode last weekend, but I hope all of you are okay and didn't miss me too much, even though probably didn't, but it's all good. It is what it is. Got a very fun, entertaining episode for you all today. Please, if you enjoy this, like and subscribe. Follow along on the social medias, Instagram and Twitter at Talkin' Triple, on TikTok at Triple Threat Talk 0. Follow along on Spotify. Just some later upcoming news. There will be, most likely, I am in talks with some of my friends that we are going to step into the football realm this upcoming fall. More specifically, NFL with some college football as well. So just wanted to give a little heads up there. Be on the lookout for that in the upcoming months and an announcement as well. Yeah, I mean, we might as well get right into it. We're going to cover some of the more recent news and then as well just, go through the usual kind of game breakdown from Saturday. We got we have 4 games from Saturday, 1 from Sunday, and then 2 from Monday. So again, please, if you enjoy this, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, any tips or anything, and please follow along with the journey. We're only just getting started. So to begin, I know I would usually go straight into the games, but some big news in regards to the Jimmy Butler saga has been announced. If you hadn't heard, Jimmy Butler was suspended indefinitely by the Miami Heat. And I think this all but reveals that the Jimmy Butler saga, or Jimmy Butler experiment, not really experiment, but the time of Jimmy Butler in Miami is over. Where he will go, I don't know. I know that the Heat have announced that they are willing to take lower than what their original asking price was compared to the beginning of asking for. I know the asking price is going to be lower than what it was originally. So that will allow more teams to come in and kind of say, hey, we want to get involved. I know that the only team he is truly blocked out is the Memphis Grizzlies in terms of those upper tier contenders. I know the Thunder won't go for him, or the Celtics, or I would like to see him on the Rockets. I think he brings another scorer to that team with solid defense, and under Ime Udoka, he would be back to that quality. But I know the Bucks are a big team that is looking at him. I don't think they'll go for him. And the Warriors are back in because of the lowering asking price. And then the Suns are obviously the most proficient in terms of what we hear. Here are my overall thoughts on it. It's both good and bad. Like, obviously. Like, the bad part is he isn't living up to his contract. He isn't really fulfilling the team. And he obviously wants to be out of there. He does. So that's kind of the bad part. The good part is, like, I think he will be moved, and Pat Riley actually, I don't know if there is a good part. It's all bad, but it's bad depending on the angle that you look at it. If you're a Miami Heat fan, you can have the perspective of, I don't like Jimmy Butler anymore. I don't think he fulfilled what he was supposed to do. I don't think he was the superstar that we needed. I don't think this. I don't think that. Whatever it is you may think. The Jimmy Butler time in Miami was not a failure. Many of you who consistently listen to this podcast may know that I am not as high on Jimmy Butler as other people are, which is fair. I have stated it before, and I will state it again. I don't think he is worth another play, like a first rounder and a star player or something, or 2 players or something, whatever it may be. Was he a superstar though from 2020 till the end of the playoffs in 2023? Absolutely. He had some of the best playoff game performances a Miami Heat player has ever had in that span. He, I think, has 7 of the 10 greatest playoff or like at least 5 of the greatest playoff performances in Miami Heat history. And we're talking about a team that also had Dwayne Wade for 17 seasons, Shaq for a couple seasons, LeBron for 4 seasons, Chris Bosh for 4 seasons, or for about like 6 seasons. we're not talking about like a team that only got to the playoffs because of Jimmy Butler. We're talking about a franchise that has 3 rings before Jimmy Butler is even there. Is his goal to win a ring? Absolutely. Ultimately, did he come up short? Yes. Is it a failure? No, it isn't. The unfortunate truth is everybody puts the emphasis of rings in terms of debating a player. Is it important? 1,000%. It is. Is it the only thing? If you were to give most other players those Heat teams, you don't have as much success as you would if Jimmy Butler isn't on those teams. He went nuclear in the 2023 run. He gave his life and soul for 2 of those games in the Lakers run. He was a rimmed out 3-ball in transition away from going to the finals and playing the Warriors in 2022, which possibly beats the Golden State Warriors, preventing Steph and all those guys from getting their 4th. And so for it to end like this, the 7-game suspension, I understand. You don't really like the way he was talking. You don't really like the way that he was approaching it and everything in that way. That I understand a little bit. 7 games is a lot, though. You have him come back. He's trying to make the best out of a situation. Sure, is he playing the way that you want him to? No, but like, I feel like a lot of fans are expecting to get that 2022, 2023 Jimmy, when I unfortunately think those days are behind us. So you bring him out, you have him play, and then you have a in-house switch up of scheduling, and then you basically like with some miscommunication, it ultimately leads to him not knowing and him missing a flight and everything like that. Then you suspend him 2 more games, and then he basically comes back, wants to play, and then you suspend him indefinitely because he doesn't want to come off the bench. If I'm in that situation, I understand why. If you are the player for that team that not only got you 2 Eastern Conference Finals, 2 Eastern Conference Championship, and 2 Finals appearances. If you are one of the highest paid players on that roster, if you are in a situation where you are trying to show to other teams, hey, I can play and I can help promote winning basketball, I would very much consider it a slap in the face if I were to be sat down and Haywood Highsmith were to start over me. The Celtics Heat rivalry is over until somebody steps up for the Heat. So I'm not really worried about that. And then there's also the side where you look at it as a fan and you say, well, like, why is this happening? Why is this happening? And I would honestly blame a lot of it on Pat Riley. Like, what the Heat do in terms of offseason acquisitions isn't always through the draft. Duncan Robinson through the draft, or either through the draft or undrafted assets. Max Strus, undrafted. Duncan Robinson went undrafted. Who else? Tyler Hero was a draft pick. Bam Adebayo was a draft pick. Khalil Ware, now a draft pick. Gabe Vincent, when he was there, he was undrafted. And so they have this keen eye because of Spoelstra and his ability, and starting out as a scouting director and then moving up as a scout, yada, 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 becoming the coach. He has a keen eye for understanding talent. He understands how the team wants to play. He understands the system that they are trying to build, the whole Heat culture thing. The tough part is when you have a superstar, the superstar is going to have a lot of impact on that culture. If they aren't going to buy in every minute, then that causes some confusion. It causes some misdirect dialogue, whatever it may be. Then you get to the point where it's like, all right, what do? We clearly don't have this identity that we want to have. If we did, then he would be happy. If he did, then he would still be on the team and wanting to play and everything like that. But it comes back down to Pat Riley. When you look at the 22 roster, or when you look at the 2020 roster, you have your Bam, you have Jimmy, Duncan Robinson really started to step up, Tyler Hero's rookie year, he found his mold, and then you have players like Goran Dragic, who was big time during that series, and just a collection of other players who helped to the win, who helped winning in the playoffs and everything in the bubble. Unfortunately, what does Pat Riley do? Nothing really. He doesn't really try and add any acquisitions. You go to the 2022 run, they don't get over the hump. They don't beat the Celtics. Then you get to 2023 and you have a true Cinderella run in the NBA. They lose the play-in game to the Hawks, then play, I think it was the Bulls in the second play-in game. They beat the Bulls. They beat the Bucks in 5. Then they then go beat the Knicks, I think in 5 or 6. And then they go beat the Celtics in 7, preventing a 3-0 comeback. You go to Denver, you lose 5-1 in a gentleman's, or 4-1 in a gentleman's sweep. You are right there. You have the pieces. A lot of the reason why they didn't get to that point or didn't get a higher seed was because of injuries. If you look at that team and you say, all right, we have Jimmy, Bam is hitting his stride right where we need him to. Tyler Hero is finding his rhythm. Duncan Robinson, great. And then you don't have the willingness to spend the money. The entire rumors of the offseason between the 2023 finals and the 23-24 season was the Heat are getting Damian Lillard. If you want to show that you are willing to double down on your guys and say, this is the team that we believe in, we just needed one more piece, why wouldn't you want to add a 25 plus point per game scorer in Damian Lillard, who's also one of the best point guards in the last 15 years? If you add him, you are able to alleviate stress on Jimmy, alleviate stress on Bam. Tyler Hero can play a true spot-up shooter role. Same with Duncan Robinson. You lose Gabe Vincent. You lose Max Strus to the Lakers and the Cavs, respectively. But then you still have a lot of the same team. A starting lineup of Damian Lillard, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy, and Bam. Sure, it might not be the most effectively defensively at times, but overall, that's a great offense. And then you have players like Haywood Highsmith, Kevin Love for veteran support, and now you have Khalil Ware on that team. That's a team that I would be scared of. But they don't. They sit back and say, we're good. We made it to the finals. You made it to the finals off of Giannis being down, going down in game 1 or 2, and missing a couple games, thus leading you to go up 3-0. The Knicks weren't incredible. I think you face a rising Jalen Brunson. You didn't face prime Jalen Brunson, which has been the last 2 years. And then you were a Jason Tatum rolled ankle away from losing to the Celtics in 7. And then you faced a legitimate team and you just got washed. If you're Pat Riley, you have to do something. You have to make another move. You have to make a franchise choice that says, hey, we have these pieces. We got to continue to work with it. Jimmy doesn't have much longer. Bam is getting started. We have Tyler. We have Duncan. We have these guys who can promote winning basketball. Why don't we get somebody who has just needed the pieces around him to really succeed and get him into the position that he should be in Damian Lillard? And they don't. Then he goes to Milwaukee. They have to trade away Drew. Drew comes to the Celtics. And then the Celtics win it all by first round beating the Heat. And it was without Jimmy. Now, I'm not saying a without Jimmy Miami Heat team with Damian Lillard beats that Celtics team, but they have a better chance of doing so. And so it is unfortunate that it has to end like this. I'm sure Jimmy Butler will be fine wherever he goes, but it is the end of a rivalry that was very entertaining, very fun to watch, and we're gonna see how it goes moving forward. My prediction is I think he goes to the Suns. I know it's a very obvious choice, but I think the Heat are going to be willing to take Bradley Beal or something and everything like that. So, yeah. RIP Jimmy Butler on the Heat. New power rankings came out on NBA.com. I'm going to give my quick thoughts on those real quick. The Thunder were ranked number 1, Rockets 2, Cavs 3, Celtics 4, Grizzlies 5. And I think those are correct. If you were to ask me last night before the Celtics game against the Rockets, I would have disagreed and said the Cavs are 3, Celtics are 3, or Cavs are 2, Celtics are 3, and the Rockets are 4. But after seeing how the Rockets have been beating the Cavs 2 times in a row, they've been, I think it was this crazy stat where I think they were bottom 10 in the league in points per game before playing the Celtics on January 4th. And then they were second to last in 3-point percentage. But since then, since that game where the Celtics blew them out by like 20 something, nearly 30, they are, I think, top 5 in points per game and number 1 in the league in shooting percentage. They might even be top of the league in points per game. The Rockets have really turned it up, beating the Cavs twice, not only in Houston, but also in Cleveland, beating the Celtics on the road, which I will cover that game in a little bit. But Thunder are clearly won, best record in the league. The Rockets are really finding their footing, finding their stepping stone right now. The Cavs are in the midst of their skid. They're on a 3-game losing streak up until last night, but I think they were 5-7 in their last couple of games, so still not great. Celtics are still trying to find some consistency, and hopefully that comes in the upcoming games before the All-Star break. And then the Grizzlies, I think, are the next correct choice at 5. I would say that the Knicks also make sense there, but again, these are NBA.com's rankings, and I think this is a solid 5. Final little piece of news before we get into the games. We have the announcement of the Eastern Conference East and West starters for the All-Star game. I'm also going to give a little bit of thoughts on the All-Star game format. For the East, the guards are Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell makes sense because best player on the best team. Even though I don't think he's been the best player, I think the 2 best players that have really been the most impactful have been Evan Mobley and Darius Garland. But I think they're both going to just be reserves, which I think is correct. And then for the forwards, Jason Tatum, Karl Anthony Towns, Giannis. Those 3 make perfect sense. They were the top 3 in the fan vote, and they're also the 3 best forwards in the East right now, in my opinion. The only one that I really had a question about was Brunson. Then I did some thinking, and I think it's correct. The one player I would have really liked to see was Cade Cunningham, because of just his performance overall. I think has been really impactful, really, really great to see, especially with a Pistons team that is in the playoff contention right now. Will it last? I'm not sure. There's still plenty of games left in the season, but it would have been really cool to see for sure. For the West guards, Steph Curry and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander are the guards there. And then for the forwards, LeBron, Jokic, and Durant. I know this is going to sound like an interesting take, and I know the importance of, I understand the importance of whether it be, I understand like the importance that fan vote has when it comes to determining the Eastern Conference or determining who the starters are. And I know Steph was number 2 in fan voting, and I know LeBron was number 1 overall. Jokic, Durant, SGA, no problems. LeBron, I don't have as much of a problem with, but I have to say, I think that Steph is a little bit of a question mark, in my opinion. For reference, LeBron is averaging 24, 8, and 9 on rounded numbers. That's ridiculous. That's really good. And I think that is very much well-deserved in regards to kind of that positioning. But I would rather, I think an Anthony Edwards deserves to be in there over Steph. That's just my opinion. Maybe a Devin Booker. I don't know. I just don't think the fan votes were there enough, but I don't have an issue with it. So I think they're a solid. I think they're good lineups regardless. It will be interesting to see who the reserves will be. I think I might talk about that in the next episode and who I think it will be. But until then, I will be curious to see who it ends up being. My thoughts on the All-Star game format. I know it's like a 4-team mini tournament this season, and I don't like that. Like I know the big concerns with the All-Star game are they should be like, why aren't they trying as much? Why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they doing that? Like the 90s was like the late 90s, early 2000s were really good All-Star games. Like they had like clutch moments, buzzer beaters, like, but why did they matter? It was because and people were more intrigued in it. Why? Because it was the best players playing against the other best players, conference versus conference. And I understand that NBA players are playing 82 game seasons and the elite players are playing most likely 7 to 95 plus game seasons. So there's like a lot of wear and tear that's going to happen. This is your all-star break. This is your week off. But the tough part is they don't really seem to care, which I don't blame them. It is their time off. But the big thing with All-Star Weekend is you just need to have things that intrigue people. There are so many things that do that more than a mini tournament, in my opinion. The one-on-one tournament is something that everybody's been asking for, and I think that's what needs to happen next. It should be skills challenge. It should be 3-point shooting contest. It should be dunk contest. And then it should be the one-on-one challenge. Or maybe take out skills challenge and put in the one-on-one contest. And maybe that is literally like each team chooses a player, and those players, it's like randomly generated. Boom. These guys are playing one-on-one against each other. First to 5, 3 dribbles. All you have to make 5 baskets. Move on. And then you get to see this player really is elite one-on-one versus this player. Like, how are you going to approach it? Are you going to choose like a really good defensive guy who can get to the hoop really easily? Or are you going to choose a guy who's a offensive mastermind who can get to any shot, make any shot, but isn't as strong defensively? But the other part of it is you have to have a little bit of incentive. Now, I know the tough part is, like, a lot of people hear that and say, oh, it just involves money. Why are we giving the players who are getting paid like the top players in the league? Like, why do they deserve more money than this player? Well, it's because they had a very good season, 1. And 2, they are taking time out of their week to go through media, go through the press, go through the time to set up for another game, play another game, maybe even 2 because of this mini tournament format and everything like that. I'm not saying like each player is going to be getting $1 million, but like maybe do like the winning team gets like $500K per player, and then the losing team gets like $200K per player. So then you have a little bit more of effort involved. I know baseball is considered a dying sport, which it isn't. It really isn't. I'm a big baseball fan. What the MLB All-Star Game did right for years was have a incentive of, hey, if your league wins this game, your league, the team hosting that is going to be the face of your league, if you win the ALCS or the NLCS, say if the AL beats the NL in the All-Star Game, the AL team, regardless of record, is hosting the World Series. Like, that's really good. I know hockey is changing up to the League of Nations, so instead of it being the East versus West or division versus division, it's going to be USA versus Canada versus Czech versus whatever it may be. The Pro Bowl, I think, is dead. I don't even care. But the NBA All-Star Game has opportunity to really re-solidify itself as the best game, as the best like all-star game through the main 4 leagues. Nobody's asking them to play 100%. But what would be interesting is, hey, 70%, 80%, like a little bit of defense, maybe a foul or 2. I know people don't want to hear that, but like I think a change-up needs to be made. You can't have the situation of saying, hey, I think they just need to play harder. Incentive, like if they play harder, reward them. Or maybe put a reward in to make them play harder. I understand, like, it's just how it goes. You know? It shouldn't be rocket science, but people treat it as if. And when you get to that, that's where a lot of the confusion and frustration comes in. Just my quick little thoughts on that. All right. We are going to get right into the games now. As I said, we have 4 from Saturday, 1 from Sunday, and then 2 from Monday night. We're going to kick it off with the Celtics defeating the Mavericks 122-107. Jason Tatum led the way, 24 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Jaylen Brown provided a really well-balanced game, 22 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Derek White seemed to find his rhythm again, 23 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Kristaps, 18 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks. And Drew Holiday, being Drew Holiday, 17 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. This is the Celtics team that needs to show up every game. When you have these 5 playing this balance of basketball with the production that you got from some of the bench players in this game as well. I'm pulling up the stats right now, but Peyton Pritchard, 6 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal on 2 of 4 shooting, both from 3. Luke Cornett, 2 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks. Sam Hauser, 2 of 3 from 3. And then you just have a really, really well-balanced game from all of these players that ended up combining for, let me do some quick math here, 104 points. That is winning basketball. It is games like this where people shut up about the Jason Tatum experiment. I literally saw a tweet. I saw an actual person tweet. They said they wished there was 2 different tweets. I mean, there's a plethora of tweets on Celtics Twitter that just baffle my brain. Some of them trade Jaylen Brown for Jimmy Butler, trade Jaylen Brown because he sucks, he's a ball hog, whatever it may be. But there were 2 that baffled my mind. 1, I can't wait for Jason Tatum to play with worse role players so he can take 30 shots a game. The second one was, I hope Jason Tatum requests a trade so he can go somewhere where he is valued. First off, that is dumb. That is a insanely dumb thought process. Imagine being a fan of a team and saying, hey, the one guy I really care about isn't playing as well as he should be. He should be getting all these shot attempts. May I just enlighten you just rather quickly? Jason Tatum did lead the way in scoring that night. He had the most shot attempts in the game. He had 22 attempts. He had the most threes. He had 12 three-point attempts. He shot 36% from the field and 33% from 3. Jaylen Brown, 10 of 21, that's 48%. Derek White, 7 of 16 from the field, that's 44%. Kristaps, 6 of 12, that's 50%. Drew Holiday, 6 of 12, that's 50%. I would not have an issue if Jason Tatum scored 24 points on 15 shot attempts, and he went 8 of 15 from the field and 4 of 6 from 3. I wouldn't have a problem with that. And then somebody saying that. I try not to cuss on this show, but the MFer had 14 misses. 14. 8 of them were threes. My one flaw with Jason Tatum, I love JT. I think he's an incredible player, incredible talent, a true specimen of the game. 6'9" with a nearly 7 foot wingspan, great speed, great agility, great handles, finishing ability beyond belief, great leaping ability, incredible mid-range game. Why are you taking 12? And I will have the same rant in the Rockets game. But why are you taking 12 threes? And why do people Celtics had 5 turnovers. Jason Tatum accounted for 3 of those. Do you understand the delusion that people have? It was Jaylen Brown's, and I will get to that in the Rockets and well, guess what? Last night, if Jason Tatum didn't go scoreless in the first half and go, 5 of 14 from the field and 1 of 7 from 3 with only 19 points, then maybe the Celtics win that game. I don't know, but what do I know? It's just Celtics fans are, I am a Celtics fan. They're the worst because they have this, because a lot of the Celtics fans are this. As a Boston fan, I have been blessed with 20 plus years of championships, of history, of just awesomeness as a sports fan. I'm not denying that. Not denying it whatsoever. But what it also brings are these arrogant bastards who think, oh, I know all. I know ball better than anybody. Yeah, they started watching in the playoffs. I watch every game. And if not, I'm at least checking Reel. I'm checking the Reel app and making sure that I'm staying up to date. I'm following the trends, who's making, who's missing, what am I reading from this game? Jason Tatum hasn't been shooting the ball well. He will have a game where he gets 30, and it's a scrappy 30. The reason why Jason Tatum got 19 points last night was because of the fact he went 8 of 8 from the line. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's just, you have this game and you never make fans happy. The only way this game goes, the only way this is happy, the only way that this result makes fans happy, or like the weird fans of Celtics fans, is if Jaylen Brown gets hurt and inevitably snaps his leg and Jason Tatum goes off for 40. Doesn't matter the shot attempts, doesn't matter the field goal percentage. I have said this. You have this roster guaranteed, minus Al and Jaden Springer, for 2 years, this season and next season. If you win 2 championships, I'm good. If it's this year and then next year, that's great. Jason Tatum will win an MVP. I will believe that statement. I believe my gut when I say that statement. But it won't be with this team. It will be when he is like 30 and it's him and JB, and that's it. And maybe JB wants out, and then it's Jason Tatum by himself. And then we're going to get back to the dog days where it's like, oh, wow, we made it to the playoffs. Wow. But guess what? Then we're going to have to deal with Victor Wembanyama and Cooper Flagg and AJ DeBonsa. Like, do Celtics fans even think? But really good game. Really good game nonetheless. Huge bounce back performance from Derek White, especially in the second half. Really needed it. KP has started out games absurdly hot. I think they're still trying to find rotation sometimes. I like Jaylen Brown having the first quarter again. And Drew made some huge shots in this game. For the Mavericks, I know that they're without Luka. I know they're without Derek Lively. I know that they were without Najee Marshall. They made it close again in the fourth. They cut it down to, I think, a single-digit lead, but then the Celtics kind of just took over again. Daniel Gafford, 19 points, 15 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks. Quentin Grimes, 20 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal, with a huge poster over Luke Cornett. And Kyrie Irving, 22 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. The Mavs need Luka back badly. I heard reports that he will be back before the All-Star break, which would be huge for them. And that would really benefit them in a lot of ways. And having Luka on the court is just good. It's good to see star players play. And Luka is a star. But yeah, a needed win in the finals rematch for the Celtics. Next game up, the ABC game before the Celtics-Mavs game, the Timberwolves defeated the Nuggets 133-104. Anthony Edwards led the way, 34 points, 1 rebound, 9 assists. Rudy Gobert with a really solid game, 14 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 steals. If I am reading that correctly, let me take a look. Yes, 4 steals. And then Julius Randle, 21.7 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, and a block. The other big part of this game was the Timberwolves had 4 other players in double figures. Jaden McDaniels, 13, Naz Reid, 13, Rob Dillingham, 10, Nickeil Alexander-Walker with 10. And Mike Conley was 1 point away with 9 points as well. I mean, this was a game of 2 ends, just opposite sides of the spectrum. The Minnesota Timberwolves could not miss a shot, and they went on a massive run in the third quarter to really just put this game out of reach, and it got to the point where it was just embarrassing for the Nuggets. Meanwhile, the Nuggets just couldn't really make a lot of shots consistently, and they also were turning the ball over, being sloppy with it, weren't able to get rebounds, weren't moving the ball as well, and this was just a huge game for the Timberwolves. And when you get a performance like this from Ant, he shows that he's the best player on this team. Rudy Gobert has a really good performance at showing, hey, when I get to my spot in the interior and I have the mismatch, I'm able to just flush it home. Julius Randle having the balanced game that he needs to have. And with a performance like this, it's really just empowering and great to see with that. And then just having the balance of 2 13-point scorers and 2 10-point scorers, Mike Conley with 9 points, 5 assists, and 3 steals. That is uplifting as if you're a Timberwolves fan. But with a performance like this, if you're a Nuggets fan, it isn't really great. Nikola Jokic, 20 points, 3 rebounds, 11 assists. Jamal Murray, 25 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists. And Russell Westbrook, 13 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals. Michael Porter Jr. didn't play well. And I think, so where the Timberwolves shot 56% and 47% or 56% from the field and 47% from three. The Nuggets shot 49% and 34% from three. Those aren't gonna get you wins in the NBA. As well, just the fact that the Timberwolves made a total of 10 more shots than the Nuggets. Like, that is just pure difference making right there. And so when you have a performance like this, you kind of have to reevaluate where you're at. You have to kind of rethink your positioning with this team. I unfortunately don't think the Nuggets are going to make any moves. I don't think they really feel confident enough in any of the trade assets that are out there to really say, all right, we're going to make this push for a Zach LaVine. We're going to make this push for a Jimmy Butler or a Bradley Beal. Because you look at this team, the main thing that they are looking to give up is Michael Porter Jr., right? You give up Michael Porter Jr., you bring in Zach LaVine, you bring in Bradley Beal, you bring in Jimmy Butler. Bradley Beal and Zach LaVine, very similar players in the regards of can score very well, but if they're not shooting great, then they're not going to have a great of a night, kind of thing. And where Jimmy, you kind of can trust a little bit more with the playmaking ability, which would give alleviate a lot of the stress for Jamal and Christian Brown. But I just don't think the Nuggets have the positioning to make a trade for those bigger assets. I think they look at somebody more in terms of a defensive front, like an Ayo Dosunmu, maybe a Torrey Craig from the Bulls. But I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see. Third game up, the Houston Rockets defeated the Cleveland Cavaliers in a really tightly contested contest in Cleveland. Amen Thompson led the way, 23 points, 14 rebounds, 10 assists, 1 steal, and 2 blocks. Alperen Şengün, 26 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. I think that's supposed to say JG, not JB, so I think that's Jalen Green with the 26 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and Fred VanVleet, 20 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists. I'm going to hold off from talking about the Rockets until we get to the Celtics game, but shout out the Rockets for a big win over the Cavs, especially in Cleveland. The Rockets have been on fire as of late. Oh, wow, I did not realize this, that the Rockets took 45 free throw attempts. That is pretty crazy. Took 9 less shots than the Cavs and made 4 less threes. And they win by 4 because they went 32 of 45 from the line compared to the Cavs that went 20 of 26. If I'm the Cavs, I'm not worried. You got to lose some games at some point. It's not as much as we know the team they can be. We saw that for the first 40 games. We're kind of seeing other teams get the night where they make everything and they don't make everything, but they're still making a good amount. They're just not making nearly as much. And with that, I think it kind of leads to some struggles. Like Sam Merrill didn't shoot great. Ty Jerome, very poor night for him. As well, they were without Karis LeVert. They were without Dean Wade and Isaac Okoro, which is a lot of your guard/forward threat for them. Evan Mobley did play, but you could clearly tell he wasn't fully back in terms of health-wise. But having a win like this for the Rockets, especially with the way that they beat the Cavs a couple of days prior, was huge for sure. So yeah, I'm not worried for the Cavs. I do think they end up as the number 1 seed in the East, but having it's just teams now know that you're the top dog, and they're gonna do whatever they can to try and take you down. So final game from Saturday, sorry. The Clippers defeated the Milwaukee Bucks 127-117. James Harden led the way, 40 points, 5 rebounds, 9 assists. Norman Powell, 33.6 rebounds. Kawhi Leonard, 18 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. I saw a stat yesterday. When Kawhi Leonard plays, and this was before the game last night against the Suns, which they have inevitably lost, when Kawhi Leonard has played this season, the Clippers are 6-1 with top tier point scoring, really good defense, really good opponent field goal percentage. By really good, I mean really low opponent field goal percentage. The Clippers are a legit team. They might be my dark horse to make it sneaky far in the playoffs. Obviously, regarding matchup, I think if you if like the Clippers match up against like the Nuggets, I do think the Clippers might win that matchup. If you match up against the Grizzlies, I think that gives them a better matchup. The Rockets, I think, isn't the best matchup for them just because of their defensive intensity. But the Clippers have a very well-rounded team, and I know Ty Lue is the coach, but I'd say a lot of that identity is because of Jeff Van Gundy. Came in and said, "Hey, we need to organize this defense. We need to make sure it is taken care of. We need to really just step it up," because that's what a lot of teams are doing nowadays. And that's what he's done. They are really, really effective as a defense. They are top 5. Actually, they're third in opponent point per game, opponent's field goal percentage, opponent's 3-point percentage, and third in steals per game. They don't get a lot of blocks because they don't have a ton of big men. But rebounding, they're middle of the pack. That's winning basketball. Like when you have games like this, that really does, like when you have like this kind of layout of a team, it really does set you up in the right direction. They're 6th in the West right now. They would be playing the Grizzlies. They're a game back on the Lakers and 2 games back on the Nuggets for the 5th and 4th spot, respectively. The Clippers are legit. I know I said it in last episode. They are, or 2 episodes ago maybe, but they're a fun team to watch, and they are a team that you really do not, that you can't take lightly at all. Shout out the Clippers. Just fun basketball to watch. For the Bucks, Damian Lillard triple-double with 29 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. Giannis, 36 points, 13 rebounds, and Gary Trent Jr., 19 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. I think the Bucks need to make a move. I think they need to move on from Bobby Portis. Chris Middleton just doesn't provide much anymore. I think his knees are just, his body's breaking down. He needs to be moved on. And I think Zach LaVine really does bring in a value that makes a lot of sense. Like, he is a reliable third scoring option, but he isn't going to, like, on the Bulls, he is the scoring option. He's the guy that you're going to trust and say, like, all right, this is the guy we got to go to. In Milwaukee, he gets to say, all right, you let me know where I need to be. I will be there. I will hit the shot. I will provide the defense that you need me to. They need to make a move for Zach LaVine. I think that will really put them over the top and say, like, give them the chance to contend again. And it definitely would scare me as a Celtics fan a lot more. But just a bad fourth quarter performance for the Bucks. I mean, getting outscored 33-24, in which they scored 28 plus in all 3 quarters ahead of that. The Clippers just took over. And it was just like, they would have a really good defensive possession, the Clippers would, and then force a bad shot, just get out, get an easy bucket or an open shot. And it resulted in the demise for the Bucks that night. So, but yeah, one game from Sunday. The Thunder defeated the Portland Trail Blazers on the road, 118-108. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander led the way, 35 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 steals. Jalen Williams, J-Dub, 24 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal, and 2 blocks. And Isaiah Hartenstein, 14 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. Isaiah Hartenstein has been incredible value for them. Just such a good signing for them. 4 years, $80 million. That is ridiculous value. The only thing that I don't have any concerns with the Thunder right now. They're scoring really well. They have elite level defense. They don't turn over the ball. Like, they literally had 7 turnovers to Portland's 15. The only concern I have is 3-point shooting. If they go get Cam Johnson, then I'm terrified of this team. Unfortunately, they would probably have to give up, like, maybe Isaiah Joe, or I don't think so. They'd probably just have to give up a ton of picks. But, like, in this game without Lou Dort, obviously they've been without Chet for so long now. If they go get, like, a really solid 3-and-D guy, then it might just be a wrap, and the Thunder are going to win it all. But I'm still going to hold out for my Celtics. Don't worry. Denny Advia for the Blazers now. Denny Advia, 28 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. Tumani Kamara, 24 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. And Scoot Henderson, 25 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and 1 block. I don't know what to do with the Blazers. Like, I think they're going to get a top pick this season. They need somebody who they can really trust and say, go get us the 30 ball that we need. They need another Brandon Roy. They need another scoring guard. Like, DeAndre Ayton has games where he plays really well. I know he didn't play in this game, and neither did Matisse Thybulle, but he's been out for a while. But Jeremy Grant, I think they need to move on from him. I think they need to move on from certain players. And it's just, like, you have a lot of young guys. Denny Avdia, Tumani Kamara, Scoot Henderson, Simons, Shaden Sharp at times. I know he didn't play great in this game, but like, those are 4 or 5 guys that you trust. And then Donovan Clingan and Robert Williams are your 2 young bigs. If you go get if you get another guard or a forward, they can really like help be your shot creator and shot maker. Then you kind of find yourself back in a little bit of a mix. I don't know how much, but a little bit. Final 2 games. Actually, no, we're just gonna do one. I didn't watch the Bulls and Nuggets game last night. I only watched this one. The Rockets defeated the Boston Celtics 114-112. Originally was going to have the Rockets as the 4th seed on the power rankings if the Celtics beat them this game. But with the way the Rockets have been playing, they deserve to be the 2 seed. You have in a week span, you beat the top 2 seeds in the East. 3 contests, you win all 3 of them, 2 of them on the road in very, very difficult environments. I know the Celtics haven't been great this season on the road. Amen Thompson, career game, 33 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. And this part just pisses me off. Dylan Brooks, 36 points, 3 rebounds, 10 of 15 from the field, from 3. Sorry. Career high in 3-point makes, tied a franchise record in 3-point makes. I hate you, Dylan Brooks. And it's not because I'm the villain. He thinks he's better than he is. But of course, plays out of his mind. Fun fact, for the previous 6 games combined before this one, he had 8 total threes. I think he had 8 threes before the 4th in this game. But that just goes to show you that the NBA is the NBA, and they're the best players in the league and in the world for a reason. The Rockets are really good, man. Ime finally gets a win against the Celtics since he was let go for obvious reasons. And like, the Celtics did a really good job. They out-rebounded them, didn't move the ball as well against them, but they had equal amount of stocks. The Celtics had more blocks, but it was just the fact that the Rockets are playing red-hot basketball right now. Didn't miss from 3. They were incredibly effective from there. They were 42% from the field or from 3, and whereas the Celtics were only 39%. And 14-7 in the turnover battle is not going to win you games, but it is what it is. I just hate Dylan Brooks, so that's why last night kind of sucked. For the Celtics, Jaylen Brown, 28 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Kristaps Porzingis, 17 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. Jason Tatum, 19 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. Jason Tatum didn't have a single point in the first half. Kristaps had 5 fouls going into the 4th quarter, which wasn't great. By the way, that wasn't a technical foul. Refs do better. JB played out of his mind until the 4th quarter. But here's the message. It wasn't a bad loss. It sucked that they lost like that. It did. Because in reality, Dylan Brooks doesn't do that again. He won't do it tonight against the Hawks, right? But also, Alperen Şengün doesn't shoot 4 of 10 from the field. Fred VanVleet doesn't go 2 of 9. Jalen Green doesn't go 3 of 13. There were just it just was Dylan Brooks' night. Simple as that. The last 2 plays, I know a lot of people on Celtics Twitter were criticizing JB and Luke. Like, oh, you shouldn't have switched. Like, what was that defense, JB? If you have a guy who is electrically fast in Amen Thompson, stop on a dime, there's not much you can do to recover. You are thinking the entire time he's going for the layup instead of the push shot. And Luke, it was just bad communication. He didn't know the switch was going to happen. Also, Alperen Şengün grabbed his jersey and whatever. But this is more to the fans of Celtic Nation. It is going to be okay. All right? There was no Derek White. There was no Sam Hauser. There was no Al Horford. 3 very talented defenders, and one of your best, and probably your best big man defender, who you can bring in for KP and let him eat up some of those Şengün fouls if needed in that scenario, whatever it may be. The lineup that was JB, Keita, Xavier Tillman, Jordan Walsh, and I think it might have been Springer. Please never again, Joe. I love you. I will always die for you. I will always take a bullet for you. That was a bad lineup. But Joe taking the accountability at the end of the game. People always forget because he has two Eastern Conference appearances, one being a finals NBA championship year. This is only Joe Mazzulla's third year. He's still trying to figure things out sometimes. People are expecting like, oh, Joe needs to be perfect. He doesn't. All right? Just you can't rush it. If Derek White plays in that game, he would have the Dillon Brooks assignment and they win that game. Sam Hauser would have hit some shots. Al Horford would have hit some shots. Whatever it may be. Jason Tatum can't start out the way he did. Jaylen Brown can't have that collapse in the fourth quarter. I don't care what your excuse is. The Celtics are going to be fine. I know everybody's worried about 40-20, but they're going to be fine. All right? If you win out, here's how I'm looking at it. Celtics need to go 8-4 over the next. They need to get 8 wins before 5 losses, basically. If you look at the Celtics and their calendar, you host the Bulls on Wednesday. You win that. You go to New Orleans on the 31st. You should win that. You go to the 76ers with a day of rest. You should win that. You go to Cleveland. That will be a tough one. 2 days later, you host the Mavericks. You should win that one. And then you get 2 days. You go to New York. You should beat the Knicks. You really should beat the Knicks. 2 days later, you face off against the Heat. You should beat them. And then you host the Spurs before the All-Star break. I see really one loss in that set. If you go on a mini streak, you don't even have to win the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. If you go 7-1 and you go on a 4-game winning streak into the All-Star break, that gives you a lot of momentum. Because then, come out of the All-Star break, you go to Philly again. If you beat them, that's great. Then you host the Knicks, and then you get 2 away games against the Raptors. You win that, that's redemption, and the Pistons. Like, the Celtics have the opportunity to really find it rolling coming up. And then you have a 6-game home stretch. Nuggets, you should win. Blazers, you should win. 76ers, you should win. You should beat the Lakers. You should beat the Jazz. And the Thunder, if they have Chet, then that's maybe a questionable game. But if you have a fully healthy lineup, you beat them. Like, I'm not worried. I'm really not. I know a lot of people are, but it's just sometimes they're just going through the motions. They're making sure everything is there. So the Celtics fans that want Jaylen Brown traded, you can leave. You can get off the bus. All right? To the Celtics fans that want Joe Mazzulla traded or fired, you can leave too. Jason Tatum needs to be more assertive and not take so many threes. He needs to get to the basket. He needs to force the refs to call fouls. He needs to literally get hit so hard. He needs to go full speed and have a man run into him that if they don't call a foul, that Joe would run onto the court and knock him out. Right? JB has really been finding his rhythm. He's getting to the mid-range. He's with the midi turnaround post shots. He's looking great. KP has been electric and huge. Derek White seems to found his rhythm in Dallas, and if he gets going, then I think the team really picks it up. Pritchard is making shots again. Hauser is making shots again. Luke Cornett has been incredibly effective the last couple of games. The Celtics are going to be fine. They're going to hit 40-20. I'm not worried about it. Go on a mini run. Go 7-1 or 8-0. At worst, 6-2 over this next 8-game stretch. For the love of God. And you go into the All-Star break and you get the rest. You get the rest you need. You get the week off. Except for Jason. But he'll still get his rest. Then you put the pedal to the metal. You lock up the 2 seed and you go win that. You win 19. Simple as that. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Again, only one this week because of the wedding. Congratulations to Nick and his fiancee Bunny, player for today's episode. Boston College legend, Jared Dudley. Book it. I will see you all next Tuesday for another episode. Peace out.